it's Miss Virginia, and I'm so glad to bring you our Sunday school story for today. And so our story comes from Exodus, in the first chapter in Exodus, and that's in the Old Testament. And there are a few things I want to talk about our story. First thing is, our story deals with a basket. I have a basket that I brought with me to help us. The second thing is, our story deals with some courageous women. Now, courageous means to be brave, to maybe do something that you don't want to do, that you're scared of doing. So what I want you to do is to think of some courageous women you have in your life. Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your teacher or a friend, a sister. Think about that. And then the last thing, our story deals with being afraid and doing things when we're afraid and when we're scared. So I want us to play a quick little game before we jump into our story. And it's called, Do I Feel Afraid? And so if you feel afraid when I ask these questions, I want you to give me a thumbs up that yes, I feel afraid. But if you don't feel afraid, I want you to give me a thumbs down. Are you ready? Okay, so do you feel afraid when you see a spider? So yes, I feel afraid when I see a spider. No, I don't feel afraid when I see a spider. Okay? Do you feel afraid when you eat your favorite ice cream? Do you feel afraid when you go on a roller coaster? Do you feel afraid when you hug a teddy bear? And do you feel afraid when you color a picture? So some things make us feel afraid, and there are other things that don't make us feel afraid. Keep that in mind as you listen to our story. So like I said, our story comes from Exodus in the first chapter. Exodus is at the beginning of the Bible. And I'm going to show you the pictures throughout, but I'm going to read this story from my Shine On a Story Bible. And so Joseph and his brothers had many children, and their children had children, and their children's had children. And over time, Israelites filled the land. Egypt's new king, called Pharaoh, did not remember how Joseph's people had helped Egypt. And so he said, there are too many Israelites and they are too powerful. If we go to war, they will join our enemies and fight against us. We need to have a plan. So Pharaoh was afraid that all these Israelite people, if they had to go to war and go in a fight, would fight against them and they would win. And so he wanted to come up with a plan to kind of get rid of them. So the Egyptians, they decided to wear down the Israelite people. And they made them work and work and work until the Israelites were so tired and so weak so that if they had to go to war, they wouldn't be able to because they'd be too tired and weak. But they made them do all kinds of field work, but they still had children. They still were powerful. So Pharaoh said, that plan didn't work. We need another plan. So his second plan, he became afraid. So he commanded people to kill the Israelites' baby boys. Yikes. That's not very good. And I don't think that God was very pleased with that. And so two midwives are kind of like nurses. They help people have babies. And so they are named Shiphrah and Puah, and they disobeyed King Pharaoh. And they let the baby boys live. So when they were born and they were a boy, instead of killing them, like King Pharaoh said, they let them live. But Pharaoh was very mad about that. He didn't like that. And so he questioned them. And they said, well, there's nothing we can do because by the time that these women have these babies, it's too late. We can't get there in time. But they told a lie. So because of their courage and because they kind of lied to King Pharaoh, God blessed them. And so one Israelite mother had a beautiful baby boy, but she hid him because she didn't want her baby to die like all these other Israelite baby boys. So after 3 months, he got bigger and she couldn't hide him anymore. So she got a basket. Here's our basket made of papyrus. And she put the baby in the basket and she placed him among the reeds. Now, if you look in our picture, you can see the reeds are these tall, grassy things. And so she put the baby in the basket and she placed it in the river. And so the baby starts floating down the river in this basket. But as she's doing this, the baby's older sister was back here, and she was watching what was happening. And so the baby floats down the basket, down the river, in the basket. And King Pharaoh's daughter came to the river that day to take a bath, because that's where they used to take a bath. And she sees this basket, and she sent her maid for it. But the little girl, the baby's sister, was standing nearby, watching what was happening. And as she's watching, she goes to Pharaoh's daughter and she says, "Do you need a nurse for the baby?" And so Pharaoh's daughter says, "Yes, I need a nurse. There's a baby in a basket. I need help." And so the little girl goes and gets her mother, which is the actual baby's mom. And she brings her back. And so Pharaoh's daughter says, "I will pay you to take this baby in this basket." And so the baby's mother takes the baby, which is her baby all along, but they were keeping that a secret. And she even got paid for it. And so she cared for it. But when the child got bigger and old enough, he went to live with Pharaoh's daughter again, the woman that found him down in the river. And the Pharaoh's daughter adopted the baby, and she named him Moses. I am so glad to bring that story to you today. And if you want to go back and reread it, it's in Exodus chapter 1 all the way to chapter 2. I hope that we see each other really soon, and I can't wait. I hope you are doing well, and thank you for allowing me to read you our story today. Bye, friends.